Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse, and I'm your host, Omus. But I'm not alone. I've got we're back. Kirklin Pats are back on Sidequest after not even a hiatus. It's just that we had Switch 2 coverage, a little like Xbox showcase that you missed here and there. But it's good to have you back. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very good. Yeah, the temperature of the air is nice, and yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah, this should be a good time.
Yeah, I think me and you are both pretty excited for this episode, just because it's one of those classic. Like me and you have both been playing a lot of games the last few weeks. We haven't had a side quest together. The last couple weeks have been a lot of Switch 2 things. Like I said, those showcases and whatnot. And so it's just been like a Samus like charge shot here, like building up the beam a little bit. And I feel like this is like the episode where we unload just an absurd amount of games we've been playing over the last few weeks here. So some things I'm very excited to share with you. But really, that's all this episode is about. The news is like this week there was a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct, which is great and got me really hyped for the game. But I didn't feel like putting you through watching a 20-minute direct for a game that you are probably not going to be playing. So maybe you would have found that interesting. But suffice to say, I thought it was really great. I am very excited for that game, but I was already going to buy it, so it didn't really change anything in my life. But yeah, looking forward to that game. Just quick shout outs here is Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Is coming out this week, and so yeah, next week's episode of SideQuest will be kind of probably more impressions, because that first game was long as hell, so there's no way we're playing through that whole thing in a weekend. But I did also release the Death Stranding 1 review back in the feeds there for people who want to listen to that, because that was freaking 6 years ago now that game and review therefore came out, so it's been a bit. So you can go back and check that out. It's a long one. It's 2.5 hours long. It's a long review as well. It does not encompass, because I know, Kirklin, you've talked about Death Stranding a lot in SideQuest the last year or two. I just kind of put the original one out there. I didn't do a mega edit supercut of all the discussions we've had on it. Because those ones are still in the feed. Those ones are still in SideQuest. If you want more Death Stranding after that, you can just search Death Stranding on Podcast Player, or if you are struggling to do that, you can do it usually on Spotify. That works, but Spreaker as well. You can search Death Stranding as a tag in there, and it'll pop out all the episodes that we've talked about it in there. So you can do that, and then all the stuff's usually time-stamped as well, so you can do that if you want. Anyway, let's get into today's talking about some of the games we've been playing. I'm going to bring back a segment that I was doing for a little bit there, but it's been a couple months. I'm bringing back my UFO50 game of the week, because I've been back in UFO50, probably put another 10, 15 hours into the game in the last couple weeks here. Kind of because there's a podcast I listen to, the Eggplant Show, and they are dedicating a whole year to UFO50. Since games come out, every week they do the next game in the collection, and they've just been going through. And up until recently, these last few weeks, there was 3 or 4 games in UFO50 I had never even opened up yet, and they're now in the podcast part of the year where they're getting to the games I hadn't played yet. So I'm like, oh, I want to catch up, make sure I'm playing these games before these episodes come out. That's been really fun. So UFO50 has kind of been an ever-present thing in my mind, just listening to that podcast every week, revisiting games, and now playing some new ones that I never even got around to by the time I already gave it my Game of the Year award last year. So the one I'm really excited to share with you, Kirklin, is there's a game in there called Rock on Island, which is a tower defense game. So I know you're a big Bloons head.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I've not played a ton of tower defense games in my life, maybe 4 or 5 different ones in terms of series, and then played a bunch of Bloons games. And I feel like there's never been a tower defense game that's missed. Every time it's just a banger. I love it. I usually only go to one if it has some unique new mechanic to it. So that probably helps as well, not just playing cheapo games that are kind of not bringing anything new to the genre. But it is still, all these years later, still pretty niche. And there are definitely more roguelike ones and other interesting ones that have come out from the indie world these last few years. But this one it has an interesting mechanic to it that I haven't seen in another game, which is that it's kind of like a top-down view, of course. But instead of you just being an omniscient view where you can just click on a tile and put a tower there, you are a little character. You're a little guy, and you have to walk around the map and click on, go to a tile, click on it, place a tower there, and you also have an attack of your own. So you're kind of a mobile tower at the same time. And then the game is really built around that. The first 2 or 3 waves for sure before you get any infrastructure up, you really got to plan out where you are on the map. I'm going to be a diagonal angle here. I'm going to be a tower, smacking these down, get my other 2 towers. But then it gets really intense because mid-round, it's okay, well, now I have to frantically run up to this corner where I want my next tower. slap it down, maybe get an upgrade for it, do this other micromanaging stuff, and especially like in the later levels, like the final level took me probably like 15 tries to like figure out a strat to it, and a big part of that is just like constantly figure out, okay, where do I need to be? Where do I need to put these towers? What is my upgrade route for it? And then your character intentionally moves very slow, and there's no way you can like upgrade you can upgrade your weapon power of your character, but you can't upgrade you can upgrade your range, which I guess helps, but you can never get your speed updated. So you kind of always are a bit of a tower yourself. You're kind of sluggishly moving along, and so it really incentivizes that strategy of where are you going to place yourself mid-level, even though that's something you can constantly update and change. So yeah, it's really cool. And then the other kind of I really like the building of it is like very simple, as most things are in UFO50. It's like very just reduced to like the core concepts. In this, there are 3 towers you can place. One is like the attacking tower. One is just a campfire, which I'll explain in a minute. And one is like a chicken, which isn't even a tower. It's just for currency. Well, I'll explain again in a minute. As far as the towers go, it's like pretty much a 6. There's a pretty basic skill to it. You put the basic unit down, and then it branches out. You can get 3 upgrades for it, and then for each of those 3 upgrades, there's 2 more upgrades. So it's like 6 different variations overall, or I guess what would that be, like 9 if you count like the lower tiers. And sometimes you might just leave one at a lower tier because you don't have the money, or because you don't need to upgrade it past that tier. And then they get specialized, like the ones at the higher tiers can like have the slow ability or can hit multiple units at the same time. But I think it's like pretty simple in terms of towers going, like even comparing to like some of the crazy towers you get like later on in Bloons, or I talked about Siegebreaker last year and some of the interesting mechanics you can get there. Like it never really gets that wild because it doesn't like change much, and even on the first level of the game you have access to the exact same towers and upgrades that you do on the final level of the game. You never unlock anything new. It's just like that same core concept, but you're just kind of refining it. And once again, the game doesn't really explain what the towers do. You kind of just have to figure it out from trial and error. Like, oh yeah, this one hits through targets. This one only hits one target, but it does big damage. This one's really good against flying units, for example. So there's little things that you kind of have to learn just from playing, which is pretty much all of UFO50, because only like 1 or 2 of the games have tutorials in there. It's mostly just you dicking around until you figure things out. And then, yeah, the other 2 towers, one is the campfire. The whole game, I should say, the reason it's campfire is this game's like caveman themed. There's like dinosaurs crashing into this island, and you're like cave people, and you're fighting off these dinosaurs. So anyway, that's why it's like you're hiring cavemen around your towers. The campfire, if you put it near next to one of your cavemen, they get increased attack speed. So that's one thing you can do with it. But then the other thing with the 3rd upgrade I mentioned, the chicken, if you put a chicken next to a campfire, it will slowly cook the chicken, and after like a round or 2, a wave or 2, it'll fully cook through, and then you can sell it for like triple the value that you bought it for, or you think even maybe higher. I forget the exact numbers now. It's been a couple weeks since I played it. And so you're kind of finding that constant balance too of like, how many towers do I need just to get by, so that I can put more chickens down, so that I can make a shit ton of money and like just crush it in these next few waves when things are going to get harder and like boss units are going to come through. And so it's a really fun balance of that, where you might just have a part of the map that's just sectioned off, and it's just like your huge like line cook factory. You just have campfires and chickens, but then also you might just be like, okay, I'm going to put a campfire here so it's strategically next to one of my towers, but then I can cook chicken on the other spot next to it. And so it's just like that strategy to it is really engaging. So yeah, once again, someday when you eventually pick up this game, I think, let me know, because there's like 3 or 4 games that I would immediately say you need to play this now. But knowing that you're a big tower defense guy, I think you would really like this game. It was just, I think it probably took me 3 or 4 hours to maybe get through the whole thing. And there's even like the cherry condition is to be at the levels without taking any damage on your home base, which is going to be insanely difficult on some of these levels. I don't know if I'm going to do that necessarily, but it was just a really great time with this simple but really in-depth tower defense game.
No, that's awesome. I honestly, like halfway through you talking about the game, I like forgot you were talking about UFO50 game. There's just there's so much depth in each of the little games within it. That's so crazy. It's funny that the game really was bringing back memories to a different game that I don't know if you ever played, but I loved it as a kid on PS3. I think it is a game called Fat Princess. I remember playing online with a couple of my friends, and we played this game so much. I like completely forgot about it until you were describing this game. It wasn't necessarily a tower defense in the sense of like you building towers, but like similar where like you're controlling one soldier sort of situation. You're trying to capture the other princess, and it was just such a fun game and very, very unique. And I think the idea of like just controlling one player on a tower defense is interesting. It also reminds me of another Warcraft 3 custom game mode that I played back in the day. So no, that definitely sounds like it's up my alley, because it reminded me of two very, very fond memories I had in gaming.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I remember Fat Princess, like, just seeing it on, maybe not an E3 thing, but like just G4, seeing like reviews of it and being like, whoa, what a weird game, and like what a strange sense of humor this had. And I remember that like they added that character in PlayStation All-Stars. That's very much like a time capsule of like when that game came out, that they had Fat Princess in there as a character.
For sure. So 2009, I think, was the one that I played, and then apparently they came up with like a 2015 one that wasn't.
Oh, so would that be on PS4?
I don't even remember this coming out, and then when I was just reading about it on Reddit, sounds like it wasn't very popular compared to what the first one was.
Okay, it was like a sequel or a remaster or something, not like
let me check,
because that is a game that you just totally forgot about until you mentioned it, but now it's bringing back a bunch of memories, and this is one that I would like to check out. Was it like
Fat Princess Adventures? There you go, PlayStation 4.
Okay, so that was kind of maybe like a spin-off or something.
Yeah. Little bit different, but and that
huh.
same sort of cutesy appeal.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to write that down, because I feel like I wonder if that's on. I don't think it's on PS Plus, but like that would be a weird game to go back and play.
No, it was fun, because you could play online or offline, I believe. I don't know if they did that for like the new version, but on the old one. No,
would that be like a gauntlet game? Like, could we like do split screen against each other? Because that could be wild.
I feel like in my mind it would be fantastic, but like I don't know if it had that type of support for it. But who knows? Because I don't think I ever played like against someone on the same console. It would have been online. When we were competing.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of those games in the PS3 era kind of stuck in limbo because they've just struggled with the emulation. Like, they have a ton of PS1 and 2 things on PS5 and PS4 things, but PS3 is like just because of the hardware of the system, it just makes it harder to port that stuff, unfortunately. So some of those things have, like PlayStation All-Stars, another one that I really want to go back to, even though I know it's not great, but I just want to play it, but it's not easy to just... I mean, it's probably some emulator. I guess I could just do it on PC, but to play it on PlayStation is not super easy, unfortunately. It's PlayStation All-Stars. I want to play it on the PlayStation. You know what I mean? And then, so it's funny that I kind of paired these two games off because, Rock on Island kind of reminds me of Bloons and this tower defense Flash game. Another game that I've been playing that is kind of similar to a Flash game I used to play back in the day. And I think we've talked about this game, and I don't think you did play it. Do you remember the game Crimson Warfare? Did you play that one back in the day? Was that a mini clip?
Warfare?
I swear we've talked about it in our different Flash games conversations that we've had.
Let me get an image.
Google that one.
Yeah. Crimson.
It's like it's almost like an RTS, but like put into like a 2D realm where you just buy building upgrades and then like send out units, and then the units kind of auto battle against each other.
I never played this one, but it looks like many different games that I played on Miniclip. Like just
absolutely.
Yeah. Like Age of War, that was one I think is what it was called. It was similar, where there was two sides, and then you're just like upgrading and trying to defeat the other base. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the newer game that I've been playing that is kind of reminiscent of that is a game called Metal Slug Attack Reloaded, which came out on the Switch last year. And with the Switch 2, there's not, like, other than Mario Kart, there isn't really any launch titles, right? So I've been like, okay, I want to just pick up some things to like play on this console to like be able to buy this new hardware that I spent hundreds of dollars on. And so, this game came out last year. It was like on sale. It's like $10, I think, because I'm pretty sure it's a mobile game. And then this is like the port to consoles where they took out a lot of like the, microtransaction-y stuff and just made it like one full release game. And so it's been on my radar ever since it came out because I love the concept. It reminded me of Crimson Warfare, Metal Slug. I was talking about Tactics last year and how I just love that pixel art, and I'm kind of reminiscent and nostalgic for that game and that series a little bit. And especially after playing Tactics and really loving that game, even though it had a bunch of bugs and issues like that, I was excited to finally pick this game up. And there's another game I also picked up on Switch 2 I'll talk about. Not like these run on Switch 1, like they're new games or anything like that. But yeah, Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. So kind of what I was describing there of you have your base on the left side of the screen, enemy base is on the right side of the screen. You are just accruing currency over time, and then you can like put upgrades into accruing that quicker. And then you're just buying units, basic gunman up to like a bike, up to like a huge mech, and then Metal Slug is crazy. There's like crazy anime waifu characters in there. There's like giant demon beast, huge slugs, and like it's insane, the kind of stuff. Not even Metal Slugs, just like real organic slippery slugs, all sorts of crazy nonsense in there. So you buy these things when you get enough money. They go out in a vertical or a horizontal line against each other. They auto battle against each other, and then there are a couple buttons like you can choose to have them attack manually, and then you're building up like a super attack that you can send out at different points and times, and you can like change what the super attack is. You can like customize it and all that sort of thing. I guess this game's also a bit of a deck builder, in the way that you are picking which units are going to have the composite. You can have like maybe 10 units at a time in your roster, and so you can switch that out mission to mission. And I think that's kind of what the idea is. Like each mission you're kind of supposed to look at, okay, what enemies or what units is my enemy capable of here? Maybe they have a lot of flyer units, maybe they have like some strong ground unit. What is the counterattack unit for that? I'm going to put that in my roster, switch it out. And so I think the idea is rather than just building one deck and rolling with it, you're kind of having to constantly adapt and modify and that sort of thing. It's a really cool game. I really like the art style, but there are a couple things I've brushed into almost immediately that really grind my gears, and I think those things probably do come back a little bit to it being a mobile game being like ported over to console. Like this game is super loot boxy, even though like I don't have to pay with extra money to do that stuff, but you get currency in the game, and then you go when you're unlocking units, you just go to this thing and it just like, slot machine rolls like, here's, you just got 3 to 4 new units, and some of them are crazy, some of them are pretty basic. Sometimes you'll get a duplicate even, and then it like gives you more currency back, like a refund kind of thing, rebate. And so you're just rolling units. And so I think because of that, almost immediately I was like, what the hell's the progression of this game? Because like I'm just getting random units, so it's not like, oh, I'm in World 2 now. What are the new units it's going to give me? It's like it's completely random. So I might get something that's useless. I might get something that's way overpowered. And that happened a couple missions where I just got this one demon guy who has like this huge double-handed like fire staff, and he costs a lot. It takes a while to accrue him, but if I get him in there, there was multiple missions he instantly won for me, and no one could stop him. He would kill everything on his own, and nothing could do anything about it. I'm like, it was kind of fun once, but then like doing that over and over again doesn't really feel that satisfying. And then I got to another mission where there was just a certain helicopter unit that was destroying me, another dog unit that had like this powerful magic yelp that would like kill my units. And I tried so many different combinations of what unit is good against this. I have no idea. And this game has way too much like progression. There's like there's 2 or 3 ways you can upgrade just individual units. There's like upgrades you can get overall. You can upgrade your base in different ways. But and like there's stats fucking everywhere. It's just stat vomit all over the screen. But the one thing I want to know is like, what unit is this powerful against and what is it weak against? And I feel like it is not telling me that information in a meaningful way. And so I'm stuck in these missions, and I'm like, I have no idea how I'm supposed to win this, and I can trial and error for hours, but like, I don't really want to do that. So I kind of wish the game was just like more well designed as like a linear game where you're getting units at like a logical progression. Maybe you get the odd loot boxy random one that you can have in the mix, and that's fun and exciting. But it just feels a little bit too chaotic when it seems like a game all about counters, but there's like hundreds of units, and it doesn't explain to you what any of the counters are or what you should do. So it's a cool game. It's an interesting concept. It's like $10, so I'm not like too mad that it's like a little janky. But I was maybe hoping for a little bit more of like a streamlined, like actually designed experience. Instead, it feels a little mobile gamey, even though it's a Switch game.
Yeah. It sounds like maybe it would have been better if they had like the base game foundation being like maybe like a new game plus sort of situation where like as you described, like for a more casual fan that just wants to like, I just want to get through the story and not have to like think too much about it, like just go, because I feel like many games do have that natural progression system where it just gives you the tools to complete the job, and like you don't have to do much more thinking beyond that. But then of course after you roll credits just for replayability, they can make it a lot more just difficult. But but
I mean,
it also sounds like the foundation of it being a mobile game, like that kind of makes sense for it feeling loot boxy.
Yeah, and I'm sure this game on phone is like crazy with like, oh, buy these units now, or do you want the solution to this level? Buy this super dog that has a gun on its head, like that kind of thing. But it's like, by World 2, which is only like 6 or 7 missions in, and each mission only takes like a minute to beat, like they're pretty quick. It's like, okay, I have already unlocked like 50 different units. I can only put like 10 in a deck. So now it's like, okay, like a fourth of the units that I have accessible to me, I'm putting in a deck, and it's kind of just a wheel of fortune whether or not they're gonna like work against this particular level. So I don't know, maybe I should watch like a YouTube video breakdown of like how this game actually works. I feel like I'm missing something, but once again, it's just so convoluted with stats and menus on menus on menus. Like, there's like 3 separate tiers of menus just to get to like the next campaign mission if you want to do that. And there's other things on the menu too that are like coming soon. I don't know if that means like a DLC update or if I have to unlock something. It's a very messy game. So I don't know if I could really recommend it. I'd recommend Tactics, assuming that game is Metal Slug Tactics being, if it's not like still bugged out. I haven't looked back if they've patched that game a bunch. As I mentioned before, I was having a bunch of crashing issues and stuff with it. But yeah, Metal Slug, the pixel art is insane. The game is gorgeous. The attacks are super cool. And it is a very fun, like cinematic, crazy experience, like watching these 2 huge armies like going at it and just like this hectic mayhem. So it is fun to watch, but yeah, I just feel like it's maybe a little too convoluted, unfortunately. Which I don't know. Maybe mobile games like are usually even more dumbed down and simplified. So maybe it's a good thing this is a complicated game, but I think it's just a little too complex at different points in times. But anyway, that is Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. I think it's just called Metal Slug Attack on mobile. Reloaded is like the console port version of it, I believe. There you go. There's that one. I do have another game I've been playing on Switch too, but I will save that for later. And you know what? I'll kick it over to you, Kirklin. I don't know how many games you got to talk about. And so, yeah, just guide me through this journey here.
I got a couple games to shout out. Some that I've talked about on here before. Okay. I think all of them, maybe one not. But I actually wanted to start off in a different direction, which is very rare. Last time we did a news weekly geek, you and I brought up the YouTube channels, and of course I could bring it up on the weekly, but this one's very centered around the gaming. I just wanted to shout it out. The channel called Rye Games, RYE. I randomly found him on just my YouTube algorithms, and a big thing of what he does is he finds like either like the worst rated games on Steam or like completely abandoned games, like those early access games that like it just seemed like they're never out of early access, and then the whole community just abandons them, and he jumps in there and he just like documents what he does. Sometimes it's a collection of games, and like a lot of them are really funny because like there are people playing a lot of these completely dead games. Some of the population's like definitely less than 100 players, but like you'll find their discords and like chat with the people and just like document what like basically the history of these games. And there's been some videos that are like almost like getting me choked up with how wholesome they are. Like he just like meets these guys that have been playing this game for like 10 years, and they just like talk about how it's like been a part of their lives, and it's so like fascinating just getting an insight into just some of these really obscure games. Because whether it's Steam or PlayStation, I feel like I see just endless amounts of games, and I'm just like, man, some of these like PvP MMO ones, like who is actually playing these? And then shouts out to Rye because he's jumping in there, and highly recommend the channel. It is very entertaining. Most of the videos are like over half an hour, so it's like a good episode length. And but yeah, there's been some really good ones. Nice. Like it was multiple. I tried the worst rated Steam games, and then like again, so he just like kind of has a series going, and yeah, they're so fantastic.
I feel like I've seen a few different channels tackle that kind of thing of like you just go on Steam sometimes, it's like holy shit, the amount of games that are here, just even in like the new releases, is overwhelming. It's fun for people to actually like dive in. What are these things? And sometimes there actually is gold to be found, and other times it's just fun to laugh at the nonsense of it. But that's great. If there's a particular video you recommend or one you watched recently that was good, send it my way. I'll definitely check the channel out either way. That actually reminds me of, I'm glad you brought this up, another YouTube gaming channel that I'm a big fan of. Her name is Eurothug4000. I don't know why that's her name. It's kind of a goofy name. Doesn't really fit her vibe, to be honest, but I'm into it. I'm actually subscribed to her Patreon. I'm a big fan of her content. And yeah, she dives into like usually like weird, obscure Japanese horror games, like PS1 forgotten games, maybe games that were never translated into English, but sometimes dives into like just the weeds of the strangeness of Steam games. And she has a video that's kind of, you reminded me of there, where she went into like this MMO where she was literally the only person online. Like it is just a completely dead MMO, but it was fascinating because it like the world seems cool. I'm like, I want to play this game. but just talking about the experience of being in this place that is like completely abandoned in a ghost town, but like still has hints of life to it is really cool. And just like the full history of like the developers who made that game. So yeah, that's another good channel to check out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll find an episode, send it your way, because there's one where it's like a Russian server, and he literally had like a translator like communicating with this guy that
Oh,
was teaching him
nice.
the game. And then at some point the guy like found out that he had like a YouTube channel, or like was an American or something, and he's like, oh, you like music? And he like grabbed a guitar and like through his mic like literally played him like a Nirvana song. And like the guy didn't speak any English, and that's where it was
Oh
just
my
like, man,
God.
this is just such a wholesome experience. Like just this random 17-year-old Russian man that's just like bonding with this guy like through this
That's
game that he
amazing.
just loves. But yeah, I'll definitely find an episode to recommend.
It's great.
But on to games I've actually played. This was a big one for me on this past weekend. I rolled credits on Stellar Blade.
Oh,
I've
nice.
completed one of the endings, which I think there's 3 total. Which isn't crazy. It's not like Near Automata levels of like where they just have
Right,
like,
they're like actual
ridiculous-
endings, not like
Yeah.
fake out
Yeah.
janky endings. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I got the good ending. It's kind of hard to say. Like, there's a lot of like
Mm.
just moral dilemma, I think, throughout the entire like story, and then like the ending is just very like gray on like if you did the right thing or not. But it seemed kind of wholesome and like happy to me, even though some bad things did happen. Man, I absolutely love this game so much. I took a big hiatus from it, and then jumping back into it. It's funny, I was playing a lot of Elden Ring too, like at the time when I jumped
Nice.
back in, and I'm like, I can beat any game now. Like, like combat of any game now. Like,
Yeah.
like I can get in there, figure out the attack patterns. I can totally dissect any enemy, and just the way that you like parry and dodge is very different. In Stellar Blade versus Elden Ring, it's like it's like they're both bikes, but like one has like 3 handlebars or something. Like it's just a little bit different, even though it works essentially the same. In Stellar Blade, a lot of like the enemy attack animations, you can like hit them and it recoils them, but their attack will still like go off like after they recoil. I know, I like that word also, but
That word just changes me.
so like I feel like sometimes you could think that maybe you canceled their attack, but then like they still hit, and when they hit really hard. And the way that checkpoints work in that game is like you get really far in, and then if you die, you're just like right back at the start. And there was a few times when I was getting back into the game where I felt like I redid the same mission like 3 times because I just kept dying right at the end and then put down the controller. But sure enough, I got it down again, and yeah, I was powering through the story. I think I told you last time I was playing it where I'd kind of like, okay, I'm not going to get all these collectibles. I'm just going to like
Right.
jump
Leave that behind.
into
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. And actually progress through the story. And there's like a big thing that happens, I think, about halfway through the game where it's like very obvious that it's going to be happening. I like, not necessarily with the way that it's set up, but just like the way that characters talk, like in classic video game sense, like make sure you do everything because you won't be able to come back
Yeah.
here. Like it's like, okay, I think something's happening. So like a lot of that felt very obvious, but man, in like the last act, like I don't even know, like probably like the final third of the game, some stuff happens in there and it like blew my mind. I feel like I had like 3 mind blow
yeah.
moments that I was not expecting at all. Really like emotionally driven like story with just some of the characters that you're either just saying goodbye to or whatnot, or yeah, just otherwise. And yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I found the combat like really challenging though, but also very satisfying. Just the way that you would pull off maybe like perfect parries. It's like if you get a perfect dodge, your character will like slow mo, and there's just so much action going on.
Nice.
Like it and then paired up with like the music is just so stellar. Wow, pun not intended, but yeah, it's so fantastic. It's funny too. I always thought there was like maybe like 30 or so like outfits collectibles that you can get for your character. Apparently there's like over like 130, so I was completely wrong.
Oh my god.
Most of them are definitely like thirst traps, but it's so funny. I collected this one. It's like anti-thirst trap. You basically just go into this like teddy bear costume where it's not like sexy teddy bear either. It's literally
Yeah,
just
you
a
can't
teddy
see
bear.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was rocking that for a good chunk of the game, and it just
Nice.
like the animations are for like a slender, like female, but but like you're just wearing this teddy bear costume, and it just looks so funny, especially when you're doing like perfect dodges and whatnot. But
That's like in like Resident Evil 4 remake. They have like a tofu costume where you're just like a giant piece of jiggly tofu. And it's like just insane.
Good jiggle physics on that.
Yeah.
It's like big head mode, right? In other games also. But yeah, I highly recommend the game, especially now it's on PC, so it's more accessible to. I remember Good God Loves Me 69. He was excited.
Yeah.
I think he was getting it for the PC. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I think for like in order, yeah, in order of things that I love the most about the game, it would probably be the gameplay, then the music, and then the visuals. Not necessarily for the
The
thirst
jiggle
traps
physics.
of it, but just it's just a beautiful looking game, and yeah, it just looks really yeah, just the different biomes that you go to are really phenomenal. And yeah, characters are like, I don't know, they're not that like. I feel like it's classic like anime where you just have like stereotypes of like characters. And I mean they fit their role, but yeah, gameplay like definitely I'm down for a sequel. Nothing with like the ending makes me be like, oh man, like see you next time in Stellar Blade 2. I think they could pick up some things, but it very much felt like a closing of the book with the ending here. But yeah, no, I still recommend the game definitely to. I think everyone. I think the game does a good job at giving you all the tools. That was another thing that like I was struggling coming back to it. There was so many like gadgets and stuff that I just completely forgot I even had access to until like the end of the game. I'm like, if I hold this button, oh wait, I have like stun grenades and stuff. I totally forgot I even had that. So probably would have made the combat a lot. Yeah, probably would have made the combat a lot easier if I was using those things. But no, it's such a great game and well designed.
Nice. I don't know if I know this about you. Are you the kind of guy who wants to see all or at least like more than one of the endings if possible? Like whether that's reloading a previous save or just hitting up YouTube or like obviously replaying a whole game just to see a different ending, I think is not usually the play these days unless there's like all sorts of decisions you could be making. It's usually just like, okay, I had to save like 2 hours ago. I'm going to quickly blast through this section again.
That definitely was me. Like I think funny like the first Dishonored game, I think that was like a big example where I'm like, oh my god, like I can't wait to play through the whole game. And it's nice when it's not just the cutscene is different, but like the way that the game progresses and like the world around it changes based on your decisions, where of course Dishonored, as you well know, it has that, which is how dark the city can get. I mean, nowadays just with time being such a precious commodity, and I'm just lacking it with working full time now and podcast schedule and all these other things that I'm trying to do, whether it's watching shows, catching up on movies, a lot of 1994 movies.
How about even just the YouTube though? Like, do you ever just YouTube different Stellar Blade endings?
That would be the play. I haven't done that yet. I do think I'm going to keep playing the game, not necessarily like right away, but I do want to jump back in there. There's like a boss's challenge mode that I haven't even really dabbled in, so you can just kind of practice different. I don't know if it's just replaying different bosses or like just a boss archetype that you can try beating, but I do want to get in there. But yeah, in terms of the endings, I think I'll just YouTube it. Yeah, I think that's what I would do because it is it's a pretty long game. I was kind of surprised by it. I think there was many times where I thought I was coming to the ending, and then I don't know. It's just there's a lot more content there, but no, I'm just gonna YouTube. I imagine because I think there is 3. There might be like a hidden ending in there, but I don't know. I haven't dug too deeply on the Reddits on that, but because some of it, like the way that you do the ending, like I don't even really know why I got the ending I did. I didn't like select a window or something or like kill someone off. It just, I think they're based on the side quests that you do, and I was doing all of them for a good amount of the game, and then that's when I was like, I just want to beat the game and and get through it. I'm gonna be trying to collect these trophies all year.
That's weird. Usually it's pretty obvious like where you could have deviated.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I don't know. So I think I'll just YouTube them, and then I'm sure there'll be like descriptions on like why you did this or why I got this.
Yeah, sounds good. How about we take our first break? I'm going to thank our wonderful Patreon producers: Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, TGGLM69, Jeremy Renner, Charlie Rendell, and Cocktail Clay. Thank you guys for keeping the lights on of this here Geek First podcast. Like I said, I already kind of shouted out the Death Stranding situation. You go check out that re-release of that original review. Next week's episode will be all about that. What do we got on the main feeds? We're doing a big juicy newscast and a weekly geek this week. We're doing some other stuff. I don't know if that's going on main feeds or Patreon for a bit, so I'll save off some of that. But yeah, it's an exciting time. We just did a review for 28 years later. Yeah, all sorts of good stuff. So let's take a quick ad break. If you are on Patreon, you could perfect dodge past these ads, just like Kirklin playing Stellar Blade.
slow-mo.
But if not, here is some ads. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. What else you got for me, Kirklin?
Yes. What else do I got for you? I was getting some itches not too long ago about first-person shooter itch, and like
Whoa.
very specific first-person shooter itch, a very specific Ubisoft first-person shooter itch. And I say it's very specific because I think they just have like their own genre, which is also like their own just franchise of games, being the Far Cry series. The games are like so interchangeable. Like, you know, as they go on, they get nicer, maybe some like new mechanics, but like it's always the same bones. It's like I'm playing.
I think from 3 onward,
Yeah.
they've been using a template for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you're buying them every year, I think maybe that's where it's an issue. But like if you just come back to it and you're like, I just want to know what I'm like. I want to know what I'm going to be getting into. And if you played the Far Cry games before, I played a lot of Far Cry in my day. I don't even know which one I played the most. Like I feel like it's a pretty even spread. I played the first Far Cry, Xbox 360. I played Far Cry 2. I played Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4. Like I think I have played all of them. I even played Far Cry Primal. But the latest one that I jumped into, which was on Ubisoft PlayStation catalog, Far Cry 5. The one with the cult in the Americas of Montana. Don't know why I picked it up. Actually, it's because this is the one where they have like the Miles Morales like 2.5 up game with New Dawn, I think it's called, where I imagine a nuke goes off or something. I'm judging by the box art. That's what happens. But I don't know. I just want to jump in there. I just want to take down some settlements, you know, like some fortresses and yeah, like I jumped into it. I was pleasantly surprised. Like within 20 minutes, I'm like into the actual gameplay. It's pretty open world, and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to play. I probably won't beat this game, but I had a lot of fun just jumping in there. And you have like a little animal companion. I think his name was Boomer or Boozer or something like that. And yeah, we were just taking out enemies. And I find in those games, I usually always kind of have like the similar like loadout, whether it's like a bow and arrow, a couple throwing knives, and then like maybe like a silenced pistol or something. Like I'm just like stealthily taking down these little checkpoints and whatnot. And yeah, just so much fun. Like I got in there and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to play, and it's exactly what I got out of it. And yeah, shouts out to Ubisoft for still making these Far Cry games. I saw Far Cry 6 is on there. Again, I don't think I'm like actually going to be playing, because they do make them pretty lengthy. A lot of the time it's just, you know, go to this area and take out this whatever, whether you're search and rescuing people or looking for collectibles, like it just, there is a lot of content in there for sinking in hours. But for what I'm going to get out of it, I think I will play it a little bit longer. But no, it's fun. I'm totally digging it, and I would recommend it if people are looking for that type of first-person shooter.
I was going to save this game actually for next week, but I think this is a perfect segue into it, because I also had that itch recently and needed to get scratched. The first-person shooter, I think for me is more specifically like a first-person shooter like campaign, but I've definitely had that where I think on different points of Game Pass or when I've been subbed to Ubisoft, I've pretty much played all the Far Cry games, like all the newer ones. At some point, I think I put like a good 5 to 10 hours into. It's a good amount. Into 5, and had a good enough time with it. I just love the driving mechanic so much in Far Cry. I think it's always fun using vehicles. That's always the highlight for me, just flying off mountains and smashing into people and different stuff like that. Just like the physics engines and the goofiness of it. So yeah, I've definitely done that a few times as well. But yeah, my first person shooter itch that needed to be scratched, I went for a game called Wolfenstein: The New Order. So I remember last year I was talking about
Is that
Yeah, I
what
was
it
playing
was?
through Old
Yeah.
Blood last year because I wanted to get like a little bit into machine games. I wanted to play something from them before Indiana Jones, just to get a bit of a flavor and see what the games are like. And I had a good time with Old Blood. It was a fun time. It was good. It was pretty solid. Like just single player, level based, linear progression, kind of pretty straightforward by the books. And that is kind of one of those .5 games, as you were just talking about the Miles Morales comparison there. But yeah, obviously Wolfenstein: The New Order. This was the first one of the Machine Games one. It was the first like reboot, I guess. Although those games have kind of constantly been coming out in different shapes and forms. But yeah, I'm almost near the end of it now. I think I maybe have one or two more missions, but it's definitely surprised me in some of the like twists and turns it's taken. But I think like Old Blood, I had a good time with it. It was cool. I'm like I can see why they were picked to do Indiana Jones, but I think after playing this, I'm like holy hell, like this is like that must have been the easiest green light ever to give these guys Indiana Jones. This game is fucking awesome, and it's not that surprising to me, like because Amber has been telling me about this game for years and always praised it and always told me to go play it. And I think I did buy it on Steam like a bunch of years ago, but just never booted it up really. And then I just downloaded it on Game Pass this time to play on the TV. A bit simpler there, but this game is amazing. I think what surprised me about it is how it kind of it's not really just that basic level structure. Like it does break the game into chunks, of course, and you have different load screens between them. But I feel like it doesn't like pop you back out to a menu. Okay, now I'm going to load level 2, go in there. Like it seems very seamless. And at different points in the story, it's really surprising how you're going to like be stuck in a certain place. There's one point where you're like kind of in a home base that's kind of wedged in between these different buildings. It's like underground sort of. And then it almost becomes like a bit of a Dark Souls like Firelink Shrine. Like you venture off to like 2 or 3 different missions from this place, finding hidden compartments, coming back to it. Your squad, your team is there, and you're doing plans in between missions. You're finding stuff. You're talking to people in between. But then that's just for like a third of the game. And another third of the game is like at the start is a little bit more strict and straightforward. And then this last half has been, or this last third has been insane. And I feel like that's what Wolfenstein done in the third act is it just gets crazy. Talked about with Old Blood how there's like crazy zombies and stuff coming out, which I didn't even realize there was like supernatural stuff. And I mean, this game's old enough. I can spoil it. I'm now in space. I'm on the moon, and I'm just going through like this moon base, and like all the weapons are kind of brand new there, or at least they have like fully new skins, and they act a bit differently, and the physics are a bit different. All the enemies are like have different costumes and things like that than they did back on Earth. And I think that's another thing that surprised me too is like I feel like most first-person shooter campaigns, and like Far Cry would be an example of this. Like as you go through, you start out, maybe you have a melee weapon. Early on, you get a pistol. Eventually, you get your first assault rifle. Then you get a shotgun, maybe you get an SMG, then you get a sniper, and you get variations on these things. You get a rocket launcher, it kind of goes along. You get upgrades for these things, you get more and more weapons. But Wolfenstein feels like every level or every couple levels, it completely refreshes the palette. And it's like, okay, you're back down to a knife for just this mission, and you're going to play with just your knife for like a half an hour. Then maybe you'll get like just a shotgun in this level, and then maybe you'll get a sniper later on. At one point you get a sniper, and then it was gone for like 4 missions. I just didn't have the sniper anymore. And then maybe I have my assault rifle again. Oh, now I have 2 assault rifles. And it just like constantly kind of shifts things up, I guess, based on the balance of the level, but it also keeps things fresh. And then you even if you get the shotgun again after a few missions, it's like, oh, here's this new upgrade that makes all the shotgun pellets like bounce off walls, and now you can use it in like a fully new way. So I'm just like fucking shocked at how great this game is. It's super fun. I think you should definitely check this out. I don't know if this one is on the PS Plus catalog. I'm sure it's like super duper cheap on sale, but I think you would have a grand old time with this game. And the story's crazy and fun, and I can see why they, once again, I can definitely see why they were picked to do indie. Like they were maybe the dialogue is a bit different style, but I can see why they were perfect for that game and why they kind of nailed it with Indiana Jones.
Nice. Yeah, no, I did see a couple on the PlayStation catalog, but I can't remember if it was in, because it's not like what studio is it again? You said Machines.
It's Machine Games, who's owned by Xbox now, but at the time they were, because they're under Bethesda, so for a while they weren't under Xbox, right? So they they might be out there in the way that like Doom I think is maybe on like PS Plus or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think Eternal and like 2016 are.
Yeah, it seems like Bethesda still make like deals outside of Xbox.
Yeah,
they just like, oh yeah, we'll just go on PS Plus for a little bit here.
Which I'll take it, but I mean, you had me sold the last time you were talking about Wolfenstein with the Old Blood there. So yeah, it definitely sounds like it's up my alley.
And then I think the two, because this game is like a lot of first-person shooters, a mix of stealthy gameplay and like full combat, and you know usually it's like you're sneaking around for a bit, and then eventually you'll get caught, and then it'll go into a full gunfight. Two things that I think you would really like about this game. That kind of feel like immersive sim-y in a way. One is like it has the classic first-person shooter lean that I feel like every first-person shooter has now. But in this game, the lean is like it's not just one button you hit and now you've leaned over 40 degrees and now you're just leaning 40 degrees. Like you just click the button and then you can like almost like in a complete circle shape. You can like move your camera around in like such a precise way. And a lot of the time it does that is like, you know, if you're like in a hospital game, there's like the trays everywhere, and there's like, you know, little wheels on the tray. You can like, you know, crouch down, pretty much go prone under like something like that, and like shoot enemies from like this tiny little hidey hole, or sneak around a corner, or you can kind of just quickly like jitter it up and down, and it feels very. It's like it's one of those things that, like any game that has like the best, most precise controls, they're always take the longest to get used to, because you just have such fine motor control that you have to really get used to it and learn and get that muscle memory down. But once you do, just leaning around like crazy is super fun. And yeah, this game has like the same RPG system that Old Blood does, which I really enjoy, of just like kind of basic, but just giving you little incentives to use things in different ways. And then I think the other immersive simmy part to it is, I talked about in Old Blood, one of the main weapons you have is like these two pipes, and you can like use them to climb. You can use them as like a melee weapon, and then you can use them like break open crates or whatever, like vents and things like that. And this game's equivalent of that is this. I don't even know what the gun is called, but it's essentially like a little like a welding torch sort of thing, but you can also use as like a gun. You eventually get like a sniper upgrade for it that can do the huge like solar blasts, but you can also just like, you know, in the classic like Mission Impossible way, when he like drills a hole in like the glass to like pop through and make a hole in it, it's like you kind of have that, where you just have like this little thing. You can like use this cutter and make shapes and things, which is maybe cool in crates to get items, or you can like cut holes in like fences and stuff, and like sneak through the fences and find like hidden pathways through the levels. And that gun, you get it early on in the game, and it's like pretty much the only thing you have in almost every level. As I mentioned, so many weapons are being taken or given away. That one you almost always have, and you're constantly getting upgrades for it. Like even until like this final act, I've gotten like a 5th upgrade for this thing, where it has like a new function that it didn't before, and it's just great. So yeah, I absolutely love this game. It's such a great time. And yeah, I New Colossus, I think, is the last one of the new games they made right before they went over to Jones. I might be missing one in the mix there, but yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out at some point, because I don't really know much about New Colossus. I feel like that's one that I don't hear as much chatter about. I don't think Amber ever got around to it, but I definitely want to see how that one holds up. But this is like, I don't know, Machine Games is just, they just fucking crush it. And even if they don't do Indiana Jones next, I'm super stoked for whatever they do. And if it is more Jones, I'll check that out, even if I was a little bit more lukewarm on that game overall, just because the second half kind of dragged. But yeah, I think Machine Games is doing some really cool shit. Yeah, there's points in this that are like very much like an Indiana Jones like tomb puzzle area as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, the DNA was here. Like they were perfect for this job, and it's really cool to go back and see that.
Nice.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't even planning to bring that game up today. I was going to bring it up next week with Travis, but you
squeezed it out of you.
Summoned it out of me. Did you have any other games you wanted to shout out?
Yeah. There was a big Warhammer 3 patch recently.
Okay.
So of course that got me
Warhammer update.
Yeah, that got me itching. And side note also, there's a race in Warhammer. They're called the Skaven, which are probably my favorite race, just because they're just so unique, and they're evil for sure. They're basically just rats. They're rat men. In the strategic element of their like armies and whatnot, it's just quantity over quality. Like they're all garbage units, but you just throw
Zerg style.
Exactly. It's Plague
We need
Tale,
more rat men playable races in games. I feel like that's usually reserved as like the enemies. We need more playable rat people.
I completely agree with you, especially just with how unique their mechanics are. In the Total War sense, that like the way that you play them is so different than every other faction, because every other faction, you're like, especially for the good races, you're trying to set up like trade, and like military alliances, shared borders. Like, I'm gonna look after you, you look after me. Skaven's the complete opposite. Like you make allies, but you plan to betray them. So you like want to get them in situations that'll fuck them over. You don't really do like move your armies in the same way. Like, it's all about ambushes and just like baiting people in. If you're defending like a settlement, your goal isn't to defend it. Your goal is to inflict as much damage as possible, so that the army that wins it, or like barely wins it, they just get absolutely destroyed by your 6 other armies that are en route that are all like just so cheap, but you just throw infinite amounts of them.
Yeah.
So I love Skaven, and a big thing with the Skaven is they're they're all for the Great Horned Rat, which is essentially their god.
Hell yeah.
It's all about the Vermintide.
That's my god too,
you know?
I think. The Great Horned Rat. Let's go.
It's a great name, and they have a symbol for the Vermintide or the Great Horned Rat, which is basically just a triangle, like an upside down triangle with like it basically just looks like a rat head essentially. So it's basically just think of like a triangle with like with a lot of extra length on each of the corners.
Ratty details.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Nice.
And I love this so much. And to just gamify life when I'm at work or something, and I'm like up in an attic or I don't know, opening up a box that like no one's gonna see. Like recently, I was like 40 feet up. I'm putting lights on these hanger bays, like in a warehouse, like so high up, no one's ever gonna be there. And I'm just drawing the little Vermintide symbol everywhere. I'm just like, oh yeah, like just for the Vermintide. Here we go. So shouts out anyone out there that's like repairing a light or something. They come up and they're like, oh man, this house is marked for the Green Horde Rat. We got to get out of here.
For
essentially,
a minute, I thought
if
you were
see
gonna
that
say.
stuff.
I thought you were gonna say when you go up to an attic or you open a box and there's like a rat in there, and then you like,
oh, hopefully that never
you
happens.
like praise this rat. That's better though. Just a little fun little drawing.
That would also be fun.
So when are you gonna get that tattooed on your body, Kirklin? When you get the next tat?
Hopefully not ever. Yeah, I mean that would be like a true fan, but that's also like
I feel like you're a big enough fan of Warhammer to get a. Maybe you'd get a dark. What is the dark elf symbol? What does that look like? Because that's I feel like your go-to race usually, right?
Yeah, just for like their units and whatnot, because they actually have quality in their units, so it's you feel nice, and they don't bog down your computer because when you're actually in battles, just
I guess
rendering
Skaven is
all those rats.
As if there's a bunch of rats in your
I'm
computer.
chugging
shaking
along.
up the motherboard. Yeah.
But that brings up a great point because in the recent patch, a lot of things got added. They added a couple of new units to different races and whatnot. It was a major patch, and the thing that was probably the biggest for me is they did a lot of work on like compressing the files in the games. So
nice.
not only is it like way smaller size, but they actually reduced load times now. And on their patch notes, it said anywhere between 5 and like 44% increased, like from going into battles and then battles into the campaign. Which like, man, if I'm playing that game, if I have to go into a battle, like campaign, it's fine. It's like I'm playing Civ or something. Like it's not really. It doesn't really take a lot on the hardware itself, but when you go into the battles, that's when they actually have to render all the units and just the load times. I enter the battle, I go do laundry, I make lunch, I just chill. I come back. Maybe I'm watching like a Rye Games YouTube, on the second monitor. So I just kind of worked around that. And last time I was playing, I did that, came back. I'm like, oh my God, my units have just been waiting for me for who knows how long. So I have noticed a significant increase in my times. I was recently playing a co-op campaign with my buddy Tyler and Denzel, and it seemed like almost longer the load times in that sense, but I'm not sure if it's because it's like an old save file. So of course when you update the patch,
right, had to shake off the dust a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because sometimes if you have an old file and then it updates, especially the major updates, you go back, like sometimes your file's all buggy and you like at worst of times have to just make a new one. Fortunately, that's never happened to me. But yeah, no, we were playing on our co-op campaign and it's going so well. It's so fun. Tyler's playing as the Dark Elves, and then I'm playing as the Wood Elves, and my friend Denzel is playing as the Vampire Coast, which is like all factions that probably wouldn't like get along like in just lore wise or like base game, like they wouldn't naturally align. But we all kind of started in the same area of the world, and it is so satisfying. We also like have very different gameplay mechanics. Of course, Vampire
Coast. So you're aligned
Coast,
right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a co-op campaign, so we all started.
Could you turn your back on them though for
I mean, if I was Skaven, I probably would have had to, because that's just who they are. I don't know actually, because I think we like started it on the same team as opposed to like
friendly
actually.
Fire, yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite remember, but yeah, no, it's fun because all of our like goals are very different from one another, and the gameplay mechanics are very different. Like the Wood Elves, you're just trying to save the trees, and like you just stay in your little nook Like you're just staying in basically Lothlorien. Like you're not exiting the woods. Whereas the Dark Elves, they're like going out raiding and pillaging. Like all of their economy is if you're at war essentially. And the Vampire Coast are basically just vampire pirates. So they're just sailing the seven seas, collecting booty and whatnot. But like as a team, it's actually like very interesting just how well we all work together. And no, it's been lots of fun. Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Getting back into Warhammer. It's funny, my itch was getting itchy just like when I was at work and I was just doing my little Vermintide symbols, and I'm like, man, I just want to play this game and so bad. And then sure enough, I looked that day and that's when they got the big update. And that was the other big update on the patch, was they reworked a lot of the AI, a lot of just like what they do strategically. Because I don't know, if you play the game as much as I have, like you can kind of like predict what the AI is going to do. Like, okay, well, if I accept this non-aggression with this faction, this guy's probably going to declare war on me because he's an enemy with this. And it's just like the same like moves can kind of play out the same way, especially when you get at the end game. Like the same factions are usually always the same factions at that point. They just naturally dominate the other races. But not only did they rework the AI and like how they just strategically how they work, but they also made it so there's a little checkbox now that you can set when you start your game. It's called minor faction potential, and I haven't really tested it out yet. I haven't gone that far in the game, but supposedly it makes it so like the minor factions that aren't the races that you can play as, whether it's DLC or just, I think there's like 72 plus like factions you can actually play, but like beyond that, there's like 280 just in the game. And now they made it so like the minor factions can actually like make smart plays and like somehow defeat like the better factions. I don't know if that's just a matter of them like taking advantage of like, if they're really beaten down, then they'll just like quickly wipe out the other factions. Like I said, I haven't really gotten far enough in my campaign to notice that. But if that works out well, like that is so intriguing, because now it could really mean that like every campaign will be very different. Like it won't just be Malekith, the Dark Elf, is going to be like number one in the north every single time that you get to like past turn 150. You know, like now it could be just a minor Dark Elf that like somehow takes out Malekith, which is really interesting. And so I'm curious how that's going to play out, and if it just breaks the game, or you know, like maybe there's just gonna be a minor faction that's just unbeatable. But no, my craze on Warhammer is back for sure. Especially whenever I take a hiatus from the game, I get back in there. I'm like, man, like this game is just so fantastic. Especially now that they improve the load times for someone with like me with my lowly my gray beard computer that's holding on for dear life. But yeah, shouts out to Warhammer.
Love it.
Warhammer.
Hell yeah. Kirklin, the just once again, we didn't know what games each of us were going to bring into this, but the commonalities are insane. So speaking of the Skaven, I've been playing this game, and bear with me here on the title. This game is called Squeakcross Home Squeak Home. Okay.
I can't even guess what that would be about. Like
You can. And this game is a puzzle game / like house building game, where you're building a house for a rat. It's perfect.
Aww.
You're building a house for one lonely Skaven in this point in time.
That's wholesome.
So there's two sides to this game. There's the puzzle sides, and then there's the like house building side. Are you familiar with Picross at all? Have I talked to you about Picross, or do you know of Picross, the kind of like puzzle genre, also known as nanograms, I think is what they're called, like outside of video games?
No.
Okay. It's essentially like a logic puzzle. Like it's sort of like a Sudoku pretty much. Like there's a grid on the top of the grid, and on the side of the grid there are numbers, and it's telling you, there's a block of like 5 boxes filled in here and a 1. You got to figure, okay, so maybe it could be any of these squares. You fill in some of those squares, and you're kind of cross-referencing these different sides of it.
Yeah.
You've probably played something
definitely.
like it. It's a pretty...
Minesweeper was the one that I played, I think, very similar.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like that a little bit. It's got a
Is
little
that the
bit
idea?
of...
Minesweeper, you like click a box and then it'll show you like the bomb is 1 or 4. It'll give you numbers.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but it is a lot like a Minesweeper. Although it's more Sudoku-y than it is Minesweeper though, where it's not like there isn't like that randomness to it. It's like you are eventually figuring things out by like deducing where certain tiles are, and you know it starts out pretty basic, and it's almost like a nice mindless puzzle thing where it's just you filling in boxes and that's satisfying. But then in like the deeper levels or like harder design levels, then you're having to be like, okay, I gotta math out like, okay, if all this stuff works out and like this line could be potentially here, maybe there's a slot that could be potentially this one, but like because of this vertical one, it can only be this one. So it gets very complicated as it gets deeper into it. But then the other side of this game is just like building out a house for a rat, which seemingly has like really no gameplay mechanics to it. It's just for like fun and for aesthetics. So generally what you're doing in a Picross game, and there's been like 100 Picross games, a bunch of them on Switch. There's like a Pokemon Picross. It's like a known thing. You're essentially filling out this grid, and it usually ends up making like the broad stroke of like a pixel art of a certain thing. Like anything, it could be absolutely anything. So the Pokemon one is like you're doing the broad stroke of like a Pokemon, and then when you fill it out, it fills in the color, and then it's like, oh, you made the Pikachu Picross, you solved the Pikachu puzzle, that kind of thing. In this game, what you're doing is you're going through and you're filling out these puzzles that are all like different house furniture or like costumes. So you might have one that's like a cupboard or a fridge or a couch, and so you're filling out this Picross puzzle or a Squeakcross puzzle. Once you fill it in, you unlock the item, and now you can place that in your house or in the rat's house, and you can give him like a different furniture vibe, and then eventually you can like add colors and different like variations on top of this. And like I said, the building part doesn't really have any gameplay mechanics as far as I can tell right now. You can eventually get a bigger house with like 4 to 5 rooms. Right now I still only have 1 room. But yeah, it's very much like Animal Crossing in the way it's like that top-down view. You're dropping in furniture, you can rotate it around, and then you can like click on different things and he'll go and like interact with it. But I don't even like, there's not even like a satisfaction bar to like make this rat happy by giving him like a balance of things. I think it's purely just for aesthetics and vibes. But honestly, it adds like a really nice progression to it, because like I've bought a couple Picross games on the Switch before, and I played one called Murder by Numbers, which was like a detective game mixed with Picross, and still obviously that one had like some forward momentum to it. But other than that, normally Picross doesn't really have like an incentive to keep doing them. It's like if you just want to keep doing puzzles to do puzzles, cool, but there isn't really like a story or any reason why you're doing this stuff. But this game kind of gives you a reason, because you want to make this cute house for this cute little rat. And it's a very like sweet, wholesome game. The music is amazing. It's like kind of jazzy and fun and vibrant and cool. So yeah, it's another like Switch 2 game that I've just been like playing handheld while I watch something on TV. And it's great for that, which is usually what Picross is, because they're kind of like puzzles that don't require all of your attention. It's kind of like, maybe you need 30% of your brain to do a usual Picross puzzle. And then, like I said, the higher level difficulty ones can get pretty crazy. But yeah, it's been a really fun, pleasant game. One that I'm probably just going to put a bunch of hours into over the next few weeks, just because it's a fun, like easy thing to play on the Switch. I was going to ask, is Shay into like logic puzzles? Like, does she do like Sudoku or anything? Because I feel like if she does, this would be like a match made in heaven. I think she'd love this game.
I'm definitely gonna pitch it to her. I feel like it's hard for me to tell like what is up her alley. Sometimes she'll pick a game and I'm like, wow, I'm kind of surprised that you are interested in that. Or I'm like, man, I'm so excited to show you this game. It looks so up your alley. I show it to her. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get excited anymore before I teach you a game. But no, I'm definitely going to show it to her because...
Did you find it on Google
really
search? Were you able to decipher the words I was saying?
Sorry?
Were you able to search it? Like, could you decipher the words I was saying? Because when I heard about the game, I had trouble trying to find it on Google. I was like, "What the hell? Wait, what is this game called?" Sorry.
Definitely type it to me because
I'll send you something. It's Squeakcross, one word. Squeakcross, like squeak, like a sound a rat makes. Home squeak home. There you go. But I'll type it out and send it to you.
Please.
It'll be in the episode description as well for listeners.
Nice. Yeah. No, she's been going very hard on Hello Kitty Island Adventure 2 for the Switch 1. We're still holding on to that old tech. We will get the Switch 2 eventually, but that game has like so much content in it. It is insane. She's grinding that game like every single day. I think it's like a daily thing. Animal Crossing kind of had that too, incentivized to go there every day, but yeah, she's been going ham, and it's like, oh, what time is it? Okay, I gotta go my Hello Kitty. So pretty committed, and
that's great.
I honestly didn't even know that was a real game. Like way back in the day on the South Park episode of the Make Love Not Warcraft, and there was a big joke of like, oh, I'm gonna go play Hello Kitty Island Adventure. So like I've always known of that game.
Wow, that was the same game that they were memeing about all the way back.
Yeah,
wow,
and then
that's crazy.
When she told me that she got that game, I just laughed. I'm like, there's no way that's actually a game. And then sure enough, and very Animal Crossing, like it's very, very, very similar. But yeah, she loves it.
Right on. Did you have any other games to mention?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
I have
That's
one last game to talk about. This came out last week by Clap, the developers of Sifu. It is their new soccer game called Rematch, which is on Game Pass. I don't think it's on PS Plus, but
It's
it's on
not.
Game Pass. Yeah,
No.
that's too bad. Yeah, I think a lot of people just have been comparing this game to Rocket League, which is obviously once a soccer game. That makes sense. But I do think that makes the most sense in terms of relative to like, I don't know, a FIFA game or like a Mario Strikers. I don't know what other soccer games exist, but I feel like Rocket League is the closest comparison where it's like kind of a smaller arena. It's not quite the chaos of Mario Strikers of just like tackling and destroying people with items, but it's more focused on the mechanics. And I think if you can picture like the way Sifu took fighting and like really broke it down into the different chunks, and then like, okay, what could like the right button do, or like what could the right trigger do, what could this button do, and like really breaking it down and make it feel like tactile and fun and crunchy. I feel like they kind of took that same idea here mentality with soccer and really broke it down into some of those mechanics. I think that maybe the biggest difference for me immediately from other soccer games is that if you hit the pass button, it doesn't just immediately pass to the guy that you're like roughly aiming at. Like you have to actually aim in that direction and then like hit the button with like the right amount of power in order to get to him, right? And the same thing is for shooting. Like when you're shooting, I feel like Mario Strikers, right? There's like you can roughly aim into the net. I don't really know what FIFA games do, but with this, you have to like, you have a reticle in the middle of your screen. You got to aim and then you got to charge the button and like release and hit it in that particular angle. And so I think that's like maybe the biggest difference is there's like a level of precision in here. And I've noticed that the game too, like the default sensitivity is cracked. It is way, way too high, really insane. But I think that's because they want you to be turning back and forth to see, you know, where the other players are, but then also to like precisely aim your shots and move your shots around at different times. But I've noticed that there's just so much of that in my DNA of playing soccer games and mostly just strikers over the years is like, oh yeah, if I just hit the pass button, it'll just go to Toad, you know? But like in this, it's like, okay, I actually have to be like pretty thoughtful about my passes. I can't just like hit that button and spam it back and forth. I really like that idea of spamming back and forth does not really exist at all. And then also, I don't think you can play this game single player in which you would like be switching around from different characters. You can queue so far in 3v3, 4v4, or 5v5. And I think it's only online other than like maybe you could do bot matches and practice, I guess. But it's like intended to be online. Like that's the main tab for the game, right? I don't think there's like a campaign or anything. And yeah, so you're not switching between characters. Like you have some other guy online and he's playing the other player. And so you kind of have to work with your teammates there. And I think that's been a point of contention is like I have like hundreds of hours in Rocket League. I don't think I've ever solo queued a single time in all those 100 hours. And that's definitely what I was feeling a little bit here of like, this guy is maybe sucks, but also like I do suck too because I'm just starting this game. But just not having communication makes this really rough and not as enjoyable as it could be. So, I definitely got to play it with some friends. I don't think it has crossplay right now, which makes it harder to, team up with certain people. But yeah, I think it's a really cool game. It doesn't really feel like slow clap, which I think is a good thing. Like I can see where the Sifu DNA is here in terms of how they want to break down fighting, how they want to break down soccer, but it does feel like a totally unique thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm not really a master of sports games. I guess I've played a lot of FIFA Street. Maybe that's a better comparison point. But I guess FIFA Street and Mario Strikers are kind of in the same ballpark for me. And this feels like a little bit more on the simmy side, although I've seen some clips and people are doing some insane stuff. So I think it is one of those Rocket League type games where there is like a crazy skill ceiling, probably endless, probably especially week in. I'm sure people are still just learning the ropes and whatnot. But yeah, I think whenever this game's like a good price, maybe it hits PS Plus, I think you should definitely check it out because I think this is right up your ballpark there.
Yeah, I was getting really excited for it. I feel like I just assumed it was a free-to-play game, and then closer
okay,
to
that's too bad.
I realized it was the Game Pass release, but I actually watched quite a bit. By quite a bit, I mean I don't know. I watched a few games, few sessions.
Sure.
I saw a bunch of people streaming
Nice.
it, and definitely like just some of the things that people could pull off. It seems like the skill ceiling, it's like right up there with the Rocket League that are like air dribbling and stuff, where it's just like a completely different game that people are playing. Like people just going up with the goalie and just like just demolishing people because they're just confident with the mechanics. I don't know if they had like beta access or something to be that good this early on, but there is and it also seemed like there was a couple mechanics that seemed a little game breaky? Like some person just kept like jumping up like infinitely.
I saw
and then,
I saw that
yeah,
too. That must be unintended, I would think.
yeah, yeah. You saw it in game,
No, like
like
I
someone
just saw
did.
a Reddit clip
Oh,
or a
okay,
YouTube clip
yeah,
of someone doing that.
yeah. It seemed a little game breaky because I don't know how you would stop that man,
I
but
have not done that. I will
yeah.
say it's not like, oh, you just click the infinite fly button. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more
But
involved
yeah,
than that.
I think this with a couple lads, in a private
Mhm.
game, I think that'd be so much fun. So yeah, I'll definitely be following it, and hopefully it pounces on my catalog somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's like this happens often. If there's like a game similar to a game that you love, it's like I'm just gonna play Rocket League. Like if I want to play this game, I will just
Yeah,
team up with a friend who, a lot of my friends love Rocket League, so it's a much easier sell. I don't know. Maybe I can convince Travis and Taylor to check this out because it's on Game Pass. Maybe they want to check it out, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this is one I'm going to be revisiting a whole lot. I'll probably play like a match here or there. But I'm curious to see how this does and how like successful it is for them, and if they intend this to be a game that kind of has that everlasting effect to it, or if it's something like Sifu that kind of comes and goes. And I mean, Sifu still talked about it and it had that episode of uh, Secret Level, right? So it's like it's still relevant, but obviously they kind of went a different direction here. And I think that's a really cool pivot for the studio. But yeah, it makes me wonder what they're going to do next, because I think even before Sifu, they were doing other fighting games like Absolver and another one that I forget the name of, right?
yeah.
So I wonder if they'll go back to maybe their roots a bit more. But this is a really cool take on something, and it's honestly it's funny timing. I talked about on Originals, which Patreon exclusive thing. Go check that out if you want. Where I played a game of soccer recently in real life, just randomly because I was at a field, and then a bunch of people showed up and they were like, "Hey, you want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Just played for a few hours. I actually played again with those people on Sunday, and so I've been playing a
Nice.
bit more soccer again, and it's funny just like how I was mad at my teammates for not communicating. It's like, yeah, soccer is such a communication. I mean, I'm sure every single sport is like you need a shit ton of communication if you want to be good at it. But that's definitely a big thing, especially with these games that I've been playing with these people. And like, it's funny going into those games because I'm absolutely the worst person there. I haven't played since middle school, and I was never even good in the first place. And they've been, playing 3 times a week for the last like 6 years. So they're all really good, and I'm terrible. And it's not like a video game where I'm just like, oh yeah, I leveled up 3 times in this session. It's like, no, I'm just like still kind of as bad as I was when I started, and my body hurts a lot, whereas it doesn't when I'm playing Rematch for hours at a time. So yeah, it's just a weird timing that this game came out when I kind of have randomly been getting back into soccer in real life too. So kind of a funny connection there as well. But I think I'm just gonna go play some Rocket League this weekend. I don't know. It's a cool game, but it's when I already got my heart somewhere else, unfortunately for them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's tough to beat. Like
Mhm.
if this would have came before Rocket League, maybe you wouldn't have been thinking that.
Hey,
but I don't know.
possibly.
Yeah.
Kirkland, I think that's all for this episode. Wow, a ton of games that we talked about here. This was a really fun back and
Mhm.
forth, all sorts of crazy things discussed. Like I said, next week is Death Stranding on the Beach impressions. That should be a lot of fun. I might have a couple other topics in there, maybe a newscast. I think I saw that Arc System Works, who's making Marvel Tokon, have like a showcase this week. So we'll probably get another trailer for that game, maybe some new characters. So that should be fun to see who they're putting in that cool game. But yeah, tune in next week for all that stuff. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.